So, hello, revolutionaries, and welcome back to the second part of chapter 6. I think it's about personalities. I don't remember its name once again. So, it is theories of personality, yeah, of course. Now, we're going to start it with Freud's psychosexual theories of personality. Or is it of personality? So, where were we? Yeah, of course, we're here. Psychosexual stages of development, yeah. So basically, in this theory, Freud tries to tell us how we go through different stages, sexual stages, as we develop from a child to an adult. It shows how we go through several or different kinds of sexual stages and how we have affinity towards different kind of things for sexual gratification. Now Freud proposed a 5-stage model of development of personality. So according to Freud, he says that there are 5 stages of sexual development in ourselves, in our lives, that we develop in 5 stages, like we develop sexually in 5 stages. Or you can say that our sexual part, the sexuality part of our personality or our brain, develops in these 5 stages. And he also stated that in order to move from one stage to another, a child needs to resolve conflicts of each stage successfully. So you will not become completely, sexually mature unless you have satisfied all the conflicts of all the stages. Alright, so this basically says that how we become sexually mature. See, like start taking sex and sexual activities in a healthy way. You must have heard that his sexual life is a healthy one, or he practices healthy sexual life. So this is what it is about. It's about your mental development related to sexual activities and sexual intercourse and all that. Unless it will lead to fixation, a continuation on an early mode of satisfaction in later life. So it's saying that unless you fix it, unless you resolve that conflict, it will lead to fixation. Okay, a continuation of an early mode of, so basically you will continue repeating the same activities of an early mode of sexual of an early mode of the psychosexual stage to a later period in life. Okay, so it's basically saying that the sexual activities that you are supposed to perform at 10 or 12 years of age, you will keep performing these same activities at the age of 30, 32, 35, unless you have resolved that stage, unless you have resolved the conflicts in that stage. For example, individual fixated at an oral stage may have drinking or smoking habits. Of course, you might develop, you might try to gratify these habits in a different way. So that is why he's trying to explain why people are addicted to smoking or these activities. So let's just start. As we'll start and keep on reading it, you'll be able to grab it in a much better sense. So stage 1 is oral stage. It stays from birth to 18 months. The natural course of this stage is from birth to 18 months. Or you can say that the time period to or you can say the best period to resolve all the conflicts of this stage is between 0 days, the time of your birth. Of course, you can't do anything by then, up to 18 months. Mouth is the source of pleasure during this stage. So basically, Freud is trying to say that all these activities are actually kind of some internal sexual gratification. Okay, some internal sexual feelings are being satisfied through these activities, which look completely non-sexual. You can say that these activities are actually pleasure deriving activities, the activities that you do solely for pleasure. Okay, these are the activities that arouse you or that gives you pleasure. Sexual intercourse is also just a kind of activity which gives you pleasure. So when you're small, you might not even like that kind of activity. So you do some other activities to give you can say the same type, the same kind of pleasure. You can say that the feeling of pleasure is the same, but the activities are done to feel that feeling is different. Children completely depend on their caregivers, especially mother. They derive pleasure and understand the world around them through sucking and swallowing. Of course, so like when the kids are really little, up to 18 months, they have this habit of putting everything in their mouth. They are sucking on thumb constantly. They try to eat dirt or whatever foreign object they found, they just put it into their mouth, right? Because you see, like there's a dog is sniffing around everywhere, right? So for a child, sucking or put the mouth is the only way to explore things around himself. Okay, you can say that all the senses are focused at the mouth, so the mouth is the only way to explore the world around him. Over gratification or under gratification may lead to the fixation at this early oral stage, resulting in the development of overeating behavior, drinking or smoking in adulthood. So basically he's saying that almost every individual is fixated at this stage. And I mean, it's not like that you have to be fixated at one stage only, you can be fixated at multiple stages as well. Okay, so Freud is trying to explain that people later develop the habit of drinking and smoking because they are fixated at this oral stage. They have never come out of this oral stage. Later during this stage, children experience pleasure from chewing and biting. So earlier they were seeking pleasure in the oral stage through sucking, but now they are seeking pleasure through chewing or biting. So you see, during this age, children start buying a lot of chewing gums, okay, a lot of bubble gums. This is the stage where children tend to eat bubble gums, like in a much more quantity than they would do at any other part of their life. If an individual is unable to resolve the psychological conflict of this stage, then he or she may develop the habit of nail biting and object chewing in adulthood. Okay, so some people have these kind of habits also. Freud further pointed out that these people are more critical and sarcastic in nature. He referred to such people as oral aggressive or oral sadistic. Second is anal stage. So during this stage, from 18 months to 3 years, the child experiences pleasure through his anal. Okay, anal, I mean, if some of you don't, I'm definitely sure all of you do know what anal is. Yeah, of course you do. So basically during this stage, children face the demand of their society. So I mean, the child definitely does not derive pleasure through the anal in that way. He derives pleasure by pooping, okay, by passing something through his anal, like he passes poop through his anal, and that moment gives pleasure to the child. I mean, if you are really on, you have really high pressure of poop and you go to the bathroom and then you flush it all out, then the kind of relaxation, the kind of pleasure you feel, that's what a child feels. And since the child is new into this world, even this small little amount of pleasure gets him addicted to it. Okay, so children face the demand of the society for the first time to control and delay the expulsion of urine and feces. So yeah, I know it's written as faces, but it's read as feces. I mean, you can read it both ways. So this is the first time when people, mostly of course his parents, expect him and demand him to control his urination and his expulsion of feces, and delay it or do it at some proper place. Now children experience pleasure in this stage from their bowel and bladder movement. Okay, so even now, like sometimes you might feel when you've held your urine inside for a lot of time and you press against it or push it, so you feel a kind of like a kind of pleasurable feeling, right? So this is what happens with the child at this age, at this early stage. Children experience pleasure. Freud believed that too harsh or too lenient toilet training may cause fixation at this stage, resulting to either being messy, lesser self-control but generous, called as, these basically affect your personality, how your personality changes. So if you're fixated at this anal stage, then you might become messy, you might have less self-control, but you would be generous. Okay, you would be a good generous guy. Or you can become tidy, orderly. You would be tidy, you would be orderly, but you would be mean, and that would be called anal retentive characters. So too much anal expulsion will result in you being messy, lesser self-control and generous, and too much holding of anal of feces will result in you being tidy, orderly but mean. Definitely all of this sounds too messy, but believe me that much of this is true. Third is the phallic stage. Just a second. The third stage, that is the phallic stage. Alright, now this is a really important stage, and this is where most people are stuck at. Majority of people, maybe like 99% of people, or 99.9%. So this happens during 3 to 5 years. So genital becomes the erogenous region during this stage. So erogenous basically means that thing or that place from where we derive pleasure. A part that is, or you can say, that's easily sexually stimulated, or that is really sensitive to some kind of sexual stimulation. So genitals become this part at 3 to 5 years age. Children begin to explore their own bodies. They try to start exploring their own genitals, which they didn't have any idea about before now. You might have seen so many little children. They just they might be holding their pee or like touching it, or just rolling their fingers around it. So sometimes they do it consciously, sometimes it happens subconsciously. They're not even aware that they're doing it. Children, you must have seen so many children. During this stage of 3 to 5 years of age, they hold their penises. They're walking down the streets holding their penises and just touching it. So that's the thing. So they do it knowingly or unknowingly, because they derive some kind of pleasure from it. Okay, a kind of pleasurable feeling erupts from doing this. So their body acts on their own. Their body is reacting on their own to this pleasurable feeling. During this stage, they understand the difference between males and females. So now they start knowing the difference, that I am a male and that person is a female, or he or she is a male or female or whatever. Freud proposed that male child experiences Oedipus complex. Now this might be a little bit hard to digest, but it is true. So Oedipus complex is actually sexual feelings towards one's own biological mother, and a feeling of rivalry for the father, because the person feels threatened by the father, that father has dominance over mother, and also a threat of getting punished as well for having desire for mother. This desire is sexual as well as maternal also. The counterpart of Oedipus complex, males feel this Oedipus complex. You can say straight males. So straight males, basically everyone is straight at this age. Okay, 3 to 5 years old, you don't know shit about what LGBTQ and all that man-made stuff is. At this stage, you're completely straight. Okay, later on, society fills up your head with useless and disgusting thoughts that you can actually like a girl as well. There are people who like girls. There are these kind of things are normal. So it's perfectly good and healthy and all that bullshit. You weren't probably a lesbian or a gay at first, but society will ultimately turn you into one. Alright, so at this stage you don't know anything about what lesbians, gays, bisexuals, or those are. So you basically, everyone is straight. And so males, males experience Oedipus complex. Oedipus is actually after a really famous play, Oedipus Rex. You can say the Oedipus was the name of a Greek hero. So he actually, by mistake, he married his own mother and killed his father. So after that, this complex is named Oedipus complex. I don't know much about Electra, but I think she must have some similar story. So females experience this Electra complex, that is completely opposite of Oedipus complex. So girls start having sexual feelings towards their own father, and they have a feeling of rivalry for mother, because mother has more dominance on father, and they also have this threat of getting punished by mother for having desire or this feeling towards father. Successful resolution of this complex, these are basically, these are conflicts. So when you successfully resolve these conflicts, when you get over these conflicts, yes, congratulations, you have passed the phallic stage, or at least a part of phallic stage. Because these desires for some opposite sex, they just never go on. That's why people tend to have sex even until the time they die. So you never completely get over the phallic stage, but you get one part of it. All right, I mean most people do, at least I've seen so many people having relations with their own mothers and fathers, so I wouldn't say everyone does, but most of the people do. According to Freud, by the end of this stage, now personality is completely formed. According to Freud, that is, we're not completely sure if it happens or not, but what Freud is saying that after 5 years of age, the personality of a child has been formed. Now it's been decided how he'll behave, how he'll react. Of course, it's subjective to changes in later life. Then stage 4, it's latency stage, which happens from 6 to 12 years. So the sexual energy during this stage is channelized towards, so basically what Freud is trying to say, that energy is the same. Okay, it's only one kind of energy, and that is sexual energy. Now sexual energy in the first stage is transmitted to oral activities. In the second stage, it's transmitted to anal activities. In the third stage, it's transmitted to the genital area, or genital activities, you can say. In the fourth stage, it's transferred into educational, sports and social activities. Alright, at this stage the child has probably very little or no interest in the opposite gender. So the thing is same. I mean, now you might ask it, why did we name it sexual energy then? Why not name it something else? Why not simply call it energy? Because sexual intercourse, this is an act which is done solely for pleasure. Okay, for pleasure deriving, I mean apart from reproduction, of course, but it happens only once or twice or thrice or four times. I mean, it doesn't happen every day, that is to say, but still people have sexual intercourse almost every single day. I mean, those who do, of course, and they do it solely for deriving pleasure from that activity. Okay, and this energy wherever it goes, its purpose is only to derive pleasure, and that is why we named it sexual energy, because the purpose of this energy ultimately is only to derive pleasure. It can derive pleasure from from sucking or biting or chewing, these kind of activities, from anal retention, anal expulsion, from playing, from reading. Okay, so this is the same energy. Energy is only of one kind, that is sexual energy, but it can be channelized into different things, into different parts of the body. Okay, fifth is again genital stage. So stage 3 is the phallic stage. I mean, stage 3, why phallic stage and genital stage? What's the difference between phallic stage and genital stage, and why do they have this kind of gap? Okay, now this is important. So phallic basically means resembling an erect penis. You can basically say that, I mean, that at this stage the child begins to start exploring his body. But at the genital stage, this sexual energy returns again to its rightful place, that is to the genital area again, and successful completion of previous stages will help in developing a mature, intimate relationship with the opposite sex. So during this stage, I mean during the genital stage, 13 years from onwards, the child is ready to have sexual activity, and the sexual energy return back to his genitals. And if he has successfully resolved all the previous stages, then in this stage he will have a good and healthy sexual relationship. However, if he was not able to resolve some issues from the previous stages, then he will not be able to have a good sexual activity. He will be sexually frustrated, you can say, which 99.9% of the population is. So it basically means that they are not able to resolve their previous 4 stages. And of course, let's just face it, that we are not able to, of course. Various unresolved issues of previous psychological stages will start exhibiting during adulthood, leading to difficulty in establishing a healthy, intimate relationship with the opposite sex. Okay, so what is a healthy and unhealthy sexual relationship? Okay, this term is coming out too many times. So healthy sexual relationship means that you're taking sexual intercourse as a necessary activity, or as an activity that you're performing, like to feel pleasurable, sometimes to feel that kind of pleasure sometimes. I mean, like it's a natural activity that you're performing, just like your everyday routine. But most people are just like they're completely thinking about sex all the day, 24/7. That's what their main motive, their main goal becomes. Okay, It's not like they're taking it as some abstract activity that they're doing just like they're doing everything else. It's like it's kind of some special activity, some taboo activity that they're not supposed to do, and but it's really, it's really magnetic, it's really attractive, and it takes you deep inside. I mean, you just start exploring it as some kind of separate entity. So that is an unhealthy sexual relationship. When you're not satisfied with one partner, you're always feeling some kind of guilty feeling, sort of feeling that what you're doing is not wrong, but still you're doing it, and you just can't get over this feeling that you really need it but you're not able to have it. Okay, so you get what I mean. And this stage 5 is the last stage, so it remains from 13 years to adulthood. Then comes the Neo-Freudians, followers of Freud. Okay, so after Freud came his followers, and those were called Neo-Freudians or Freudians. A number of theorists followed Freud's work. Some theorists who initially worked with him moved on later to develop their own theories. To differentiate their work from Freud and to get due recognition, they called themselves as Neo-Freudian or Post-Freudian, Neo-Analytic or Psychodynamic. So some of the prominent names from them are Adler, Horney. No bad thoughts, okay, it's Horney. Eric Fromm, I don't know where from he is. Jung, oh, it's not Jungkook wala Jung, it's other Jung, okay. And Erickson. Since it is not possible to cover all the theorists, the focus will be given to the theories of Adler and Jungkook only. It's definitely not Jungkook. That's just a pun. Okay, so his name is Jung actually. Let's start with Alfred Adler. Alfred. His name is not Alfred. Alfred Adler. Individual psychology. So his theory is known as the theory of individual psychology. You know what? Actually, I'll just quickly read it from my own notes to save you a lot of time. Alfred's theory of personality is known as individual psychology. He believed that experiences of early childhood shape one's personality. So he basically believed that the kind of changes, the kind of experiences that one experienced during his childhood, that is what ultimately shape his personality. That is what Freud said, right? That up to 5 years of age, a child's personality is developed. I mean, Freud was obviously genius, so much like me. Yeah. So encouragement during childhood leads to motivating the child to feel capable and act in a cooperative way throughout their lives. So he's saying that if you show positive behavior to the child, if you talk to him, if you welcome him warmly, if you just behave positively and happily with him, so when he'll grow up, he'll be very cooperative, he'll be very happy, cooperative and satisfied with life, and throughout this life he will have this same feeling. Whereas if you discourage him when in early child, if you start telling him that don't do this, don't do that, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that, this is a bad thing, this is a good thing, you start dictating him, you start discouraging him at times that what are you doing, don't you know even this, and how are your studies, I mean you're not even studying well, you're not even doing this well, that well, and you start finding faults in him, then it will motivate him to indulge in unhealthy competition or withdrawal behavior. Okay, unhealthy competition basically means that trying to, competing with other people and trying his best to win, even if it means using underhanded methods or bad methods or illegal methods. And withdrawal behavior means he will just start he won't even participate in things. He'll start quitting things even before starting. He'll say, I don't want to go do this, I don't want to go there, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that and all that. He believed that instead of any instinct or an innate force that motivates, so basically he believed that instead of any instinct, there is an innate and a deep inside a natural force that motivates individuals to achieve their full potential in what motivates us to perform the behavior. Okay, so what was this? Wait a minute, let me read it again. He proposed that there is a need to understand one. Instead of any instinct, an innate force motivates us to perform the behavior. Innate force So what I'm trying to explain here is that Adler said that, or Adler believed instead, that there is no instinct, like it's not an on time choice. It's kind of a deep hidden deep force that motivates individuals, that motivates people to achieve their full potential. So this force that motivates people to achieve their full potential is what motivates us to perform that behavior, a behavior like whatever you do. So there's a hidden force inside us, and the work of this force is to motivate us to reach our full potential, to achieve our full potential. And this force is also what is responsible for our behavior. Like, I mean, this force, like, it's connected like this, that you want to let's say become a doctor, so you'll have to study, right? So the force that wants to make that's giving you this feeling that you want to become a doctor, that same force is responsible for your behavior of studying, because ultimately studying will lead you to achieve that potential of becoming a doctor, right? So this is what it means. And he named this force as striving for the perfection. Okay, now he gave us two of these complexes. I mean, he didn't give these complexes, just named them. So he said that there are two kinds of complexes: inferiority complex and superiority complex, which of course we all know about, but still let's read it. As a child, Adler explained that we feel weak, dependent, less capable, and thus inferior to others, or like from our older siblings, parents, caregivers. This feeling of inferiority is innate and natural. So he said that when you are little, I mean, there are so many reasons to feel inferior. In short, like you are less capable, you are very weak, you are dependent on the other people, and this feeling is very natural, and it's inborn. Innate basically means inborn, like you are born with it. Okay, so this, you are born with this feeling, and it is quite natural, everybody feels it. This feeling of if a child decides to overcome this feeling of inferiority, then she or he would strive for achievement or success. So if a child decides that I will overcome this feeling, I will become more powerful this feeling with this feeling, I will control it, so the child will try to become successful. Okay, because this is the only way to achieve this, to overcome this feeling. Thus, overcoming of this feeling of inferiority is essential for optimal development. So overcoming this feeling, like overcoming inferiority, I mean, I'm just starting to mix up these words, I've spoken it so many times now. This is very essential for optimal, healthy, good development. If this feeling is not compensated, then it will lead to inferiority complex, and when overcompensated, it will lead to a superiority complex. So if you've overcompensated, like overdone yourself in controlling this feeling, then it will lead you to have superiority complex. If you were unable to overcome this feeling, then it will lead you to inferiority complex. Okay, now sibling rivalry and birth order. This chapter is going really, it's not, it's only been 28 minutes. So sibling rivalry and birth order, just a second. 19 minutes are still left. Adler introduced the term sibling rivalry to explain how competition for parents' love and affection between siblings lead to rivalry and thus shaping their personality. So it's basically said that if there are more than one children in a house, so they will often have fights with each other. They will often feel that they are each other's rival because each wants the parents' love and attention for himself, right? The older wants that the parents focus more on him, the younger wants that the parents focus more on him. And of course, at this time, parents only have good things and love to give to children, and not taunting and abuses and all those kind of bad things that they say to you nowadays. Of course, nobody wants, there's no sibling rivalry about parents' attention and affection, of course. I mean, not for parents' attention, of course, for parents' affection and love, definitely there is, and will still be, it will still remain there throughout your life. So according to Adler, arrival of a newborn might lead to a feeling of dethronement and sibling rivalry. Dethronement basically means that removing from the throne. Okay, so basically before now you were like a king, you were sitting on a throne and everything was under you, but now you have been removed from your throne and someone else is sitting on your throne, your younger brother or sister, of course. And this leads to a feeling of sibling rivalry. Here, dethronement refers to the feeling of being replaced from the focus of attention and love by the new sibling. He has also proposed that your birth order also affects your personality. Later, numerous studies have confirmed his proposition about birth order. According to him, firstborn children, so basically what he's saying is that your birth order, like the order in which you were born, it also affects your responsibility, separate from sibling rivalry. So even if there's no sibling rivalry, these things will still be inside you. So firstborns feel they have a kind of feeling that they are responsible, they are more obedient and intelligent. And the second born, they master their skill in social adjustment. They are generally trusting, accepting and other centered. They focus more on other people instead of themselves. And third order children are they exhibit strong security, high self-esteem but less competitiveness, because they are never dethroned, they always remain the baby of the family. Then let's move on to Carl Jung-kook. Of course it's not Jung, and wait, it's not even Carl Jung, it's called Jung. So he's Jung-kook. Carl Gustav Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist, and a close friend of Sigmund Freud. He emphasized the idea that we need to study different cultures as it will provide their sense of humanity. Jung's personality theory is known as the analytic theory or analytical psychology. So Jung extended Freud's idea of the unconscious. Freud considered unconscious as an essential part of one's personality. It is a storehouse of repressed memories, aggressive motives and sexual desires. Of course, we've already read about the unconscious mind in the previous video. Even though the basic characteristic of the Freud's unconscious is similar across different individuals, but its content is highly personal in nature. This is not so important. I'll just read it, Carl Jung's Analytical Psychology, right from my notes. And after this we still have half of the chapter left. So his theory of personality is known as analytic theory or analytical psychology. Freud considered unconscious as a storehouse. You have already done so. Jung proposed the idea of collective unconscious, the unconscious shared by all humans. So he basically said that all the humans share some similar thoughts and similar feelings in their unconscious brain. And due to the evolutionary process and common ancestors, we all carry some common past. Alright, we basically have the same kinds of ancestors, and those same kinds of ancestors ultimately lead to the single same ancestor. And that is why the thoughts deep inside us are to some extent very same. Okay. And now basically he said that we all share some common feelings and have similarities in how we perceive ourselves and others, because in the end we're all humans and we all come from the same ancestor. The collection of all the aspects or elements that we all share as humans is called collective consciousness. Okay, so this collection of all those feelings, all those thoughts, all the aspects and elements that we share together is known as collective consciousness. He termed the elements of our collective consciousness as archetypes. So all the elements from our collective consciousness, he termed them as archetypes. And some of the archetypes are the self. Self means knowing about the wholeness of one's identity, like what you as a being are, what is your true nature, or it's like hella complicated to explain it, and I'm definitely not gonna explain it because then my philosophical mode will get turned on and I might lead this chapter to somewhere else. So let's just read it as it is, just keep it in mind what they refer to. Second is the persona, the phony self we show to others. This is really easy to understand, like the fake self that we try to show to others. Like if you don't like a person but still you might smile at him, shake his hand and say good things, that how are you, I'm also good, you're also good, okay, bye bye. Third is the anima, or the anima, whatever you want to read it as. This is the feminine side of men, which my dad definitely has, and a lot of it. The animus, masculine side of females. So all men have some feminine side, and all females have some masculine side, but it basically depends upon the proportion or the ratio of how much they have. Fifth is the shadow, the darker side of our personality, consisting of aggressive urges, biological instincts, and feelings of inferiority. So this, you can say, like you can basically say that the frontal gate of our unconscious mind. So this is the outermost part, or these are the outermost feelings of our unconscious minds. Of course, it holds even deeper and darker secrets, and even worse and worse things. Okay, moving on now to behavioral approach to personality. John B. Watson was the founder of behavioral approach to personality. According to behavioral psychology, personality is an abstract and hypothetical concept. So, I mean, personality is, a separate concept, like from outside world. Abstract basically means like existing as an idea, but doesn't have a physical or concrete form, concrete existence. So personality, he basically said that personality is an idea, personality is a concept that does not have any actual or any true definition in the physical world. It's just in our brain. Personality is just just an idea, just a concept, you can say. To understand personality, one needs to understand the SR relationship and role of reinforcement first. So what is SR relationship? SR relationship is the stimulus response relationship. Like that what kind of stimulus begets what kind of response. So basically they're saying that how do we respond to different kinds of stimulus or stimuli. Of course, plural is stimuli. Personality is a collection of reinforced responses performed for different stimulus. I think it should be stimuli here. What does reinforced here means? Reinforced means strengthened by repetition. It means repeated again and again, and it becomes, you can say, like you practice for something again and again, and you become master of it, or you become really like habitual of it, you can say. So this is what reinforcement is about. So you you perceive a stimulus. Okay, stimulus, I mean, of course, man, I've already explained what stimulus is. Okay, stimulus is any kind of stimulation, any kind of reaction or interaction with you. So let's say that you touch something, so definitely there's an interaction with something else, right? That is how you touch something. Or let's say that you touch a plant. Okay, so there's an interaction or there's a reaction between your skin and the plant skin, and that is how you perceive that, okay, I touched something. So stimulus is anything, like literally anything and everything that you do. Okay, even breathing is a kind of stimulus. I mean, to explain stimulus, it would be breathing is a kind of stimulus between the particles of oxygen and other elements and all that, and the skin of your nose, or maybe your bronchi or something else, but it's still a stimulus. So what I'm trying to say here is that reinforced responses performed for different stimulus, like let's say that you touched something hot. Okay, then you suddenly felt pain, you withdraw your finger. So for the first time you might not be sure why it happened if you touched something hot for the very first time in your life. The second time it happens again. The second time also you give the same response. Okay, now your brain understands that whenever I touch something like this, or whenever something is hot, I have to remove my hand from it immediately. I mean, that is an involuntary response, of course. But similar to this, let's say that oh my god, like I'm really such a noob at finding proper examples. So another response could be, another great reinforced response could be that you like a girl. Okay, you really like a girl and she cheated on you. So now you'll definitely give some response to that stimulus, right? The stimulus is her cheating on you, and your response is something. Maybe let's say you decide to give her another chance, but definitely there were so many responses that happened inside you, like you wanted to beat her, you wanted to cry, you wanted to feel really bad, hit the gym, or maybe just die, or something like that. And let's say that this cheating happens again a second time with the same girl, and this time you decide to leave her. Then you get yourself a new girl, and the same thing happens with her. So now these responses of heartbreak, of these feelings, they have been repeated 3 times already, right? So now this has become your a part of your personality, that you will become less trustworthy. Okay, the response is that trusting is not good, as people are breaking your trust again, and this has happened 3 times. So it has been strengthened by repetitions, it has been reinforced. This response of not trusting people has been reinforced 3 times. So next time you try to get into a relationship, your brain will tell you that you shouldn't do this too soon, because they are likely to break your trust. Okay, your personality has become less trustworthy. I mean, you become less your personality has become, what would the word be, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, so this is what a reinforced response is for any stimuli. I mean, I'm not able to find an even better example. If you can, do write it down in the comments. Behavioral learning sums up as what we are is the result of our learning. Okay, and it has 3 major theories of learning. First is classical conditioning, second is instrumental conditioning, and third is observational learning. And I don't think they've explained what these are. Yeah, of course, just like always, they haven't explained what these 3 are. They've just given these names. The difference in personality is due to different life conditions. Okay, a little bit of break in here. Alright, so now humanistic approach to personality, also known as the third force or the third approach in psychology. Humanistic approach came into existence as a regard, so this is not important, all this. Anyways, in humanistic approach we have Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, so Maslow's theory is also known as hierarchy of needs. Hierarchy is basically a structured order or according to ranks. Okay, I mean, you can say like an ascending order of ranks. He proposed that we as humans have an innate, that is inborn drive to achieve our highest level of capability. So he basically is saying that all of the humans have this deep desire, this inborn desire to reach their highest potential, to reach their highest ability. And this he termed this as self-actualization. Now if you remember, then Alfred Adler was also saying something similar, right? He said that there is an innate force that motivates individuals to achieve their full potential, and he had named this force as starving for the perfection. Now of course Maslow has given a much better name to it. He named it as self-actualization, self-actualizer. And now there's a term that is self-actualizers. These are people who have achieved the state of fulfillment by reaching their highest level of capability. Example could be all of history's greatest people. I mean, those who are satisfied that they have reached their zenith, they have reached their peak. I mean, of course no one is satisfied, but you can say that they are satisfied that they had reached a certain level of their potential, from where little only a little amount of improvement is possible. So for names, they could be like Albert Einstein or Nikola Tesla, or you can say, what was his name? Abraham Lincoln. These are the people. He emphasized that in order to understand human in its true color, we need to shift our focus to healthy individuals. Okay, so he said that to understand humans in a better way, to understand real humans, actually what humans are, we need to study healthy individuals. His pyramid of hierarchy of needs puts our needs into separate levels of capability. Okay, so he basically prepared a diagram for our hierarchy of needs. Like I told you, hierarchy is actually an ascending order of ranks. Like the first rank is the lowest rank, then above it is the higher rank, then higher rank, then higher rank, like this. Hierarchy is a structure in ascending order. So this triangle is his table. This is a structure of need, or this is his hierarchy of needs. So at the lowest level are our needs that are needed to be fulfilled first. Then, so that's why I've written here that puts our needs into separate levels of capability. Like the lowest ones are that we are capable of fulfilling them easily. Above it are that we are capable of fulfilling a little bit with a little bit of hard work. Then above it are feelings or our needs that are even harder for us to fulfill. Above it are needs that are really hard for us to fulfill, and very little amount of people reach that level and fulfill those needs. But that is the last stage of fulfilling this need. The lowest level of the pyramid is usually the lowest level of capability and easier to achieve than the ones above it. Okay. Now moving on to Carl Roger. Carl Roger said focus on self. So like Carl Roger's theory is focus on self. Okay, so about Carl Roger, Carl noticed that the idea of self always plays an important role in people's lives. So you yourself, of course, this is like really obvious, right? He's saying that we play an important role in our lives. This is what he's basically saying, that we play an important role in our own lives. So obviously everyone is concerned about themselves, how they look, how they dress, how people find them, and how they're going to be successful in life, and whether or not they're going to be successful at all. So all these things are about ourselves. There are two types of self now, ideal self and the real self. And obviously, just as the name suggests, ideal self is our idealized image of self, and real self is what we actually in reality are. If there is congruence, that is agreement or harmony between one's ideal and real self, like if you are happy with your real self, like you have an ideal image of yourself in your mind and you have reached that version of yourself. So now the ideal self and the real self are both almost similar, you can say, or the same. Then it will lead to help him or her to achieve a state of self-actualization. So you will achieve a state of self-actualization. So what is self-actualization? It is the state of highest potential a person can achieve, because all of us have the highest idealized image of ourselves. Okay, you won't have an ideal image of yourself being a mall owner or a shop owner. You will have an idealized image of yourself of being the prime minister of a country, or maybe of being a really famous and rich business tycoon, or maybe being a world class doctor. Okay, so all of you have this idealized image that is a part, or you can say that is about your fullest potential. You all see yourself at your fullest potential. Okay, so when you become ideal with that idealized image, that is also the time when you reach your full potential, right? Because that ideal image is equal to full potential. And he called such people as fully functioning person. Fully functioning persons are those people who have reached their idealized image of themselves. If there is no congruence, that is no harmony between the two selves, it will lead to anxiety and stress. That is very normal and obvious. If an individual is getting unconditional positive regard, only then he will be able to value his worth and can achieve self-actualization. Now this is like a cheat trick in here. He is basically telling us how to become successful in life, like one clear shot at it. He's saying that if you get unconditional positive regard, that people are happy with you, people are accepting you, and people are praising you for whatever you do, then you will ultimately achieve this stage of self-actualization. Unconditional positive regard, it refers to the warm acceptance of oneself by significant others without any condition. Okay, so now moving on to trait theories of personalities. These theories are based on the beliefs that our personality is a combination of traits that determine our behavior. Traits can be like habits or things that you do. Okay, traits are nothing but just aspects or parts of personality, you can call them as. Okay, traits of personality. The video hasn't stopped, I'm just reading something. Okay, so three types of traits govern our personality, and these three types are cardinal traits, central traits, secondary traits, and of course cardinal traits are really important. Cardinal traits, these are the dominant traits of our personality. They are the master controller of one's personality. Very few people have personalities completely or majorly dominated by these traits. However, they play a really important part in determining our personality, but we are not completely controlled by these traits. Okay, there are some people, of course, but that number is really few. So that's why I have specifically written here that very few people have personalities completely or majorly dominated by these traits. Examples of these traits are altruism, honesty, narcissism, machismo, etc. Okay, altruism basically means a feeling to help others. Honesty, narcissism also know that a feeling of like you're the most beautiful person that there can ever be, like love, in a feeling of love with yourself, an extreme feeling of love with yourself. Central traits, every person possesses 5 to 10 central traits in varying degrees, of course. They are easily noticed and are responsible for shaping our personality. So central traits are 5 to 10 in number. They are easily noticed and they are responsible for shaping our personality. They've said pretty much the same thing in the previous one also. So I've just written it as it is. I don't exactly know what they mean by it. You just remember it because it's written in the book as well. So examples of these traits are intelligence, loyalty, aggressiveness, dependability, and agreeableness. So like central traits are the obvious traits or the outward traits of our personality, and cardinal traits are the hidden traits, the real motivating factors behind the use of the central traits. Okay, so cardinal traits motivate one person to use his central traits in a particular direction. If you have a cardinal trait of altruism, then you will use the central trait of, let's say, intelligence in helping other people, in making their lives easier. Okay, so this is how cardinal traits are basically cardinal traits are basically the direction givers. They give you direction, the commanders, you can say. And central trait is like the cavalry. Secondary traits, now these are the less relevant traits of our personality. They are situational traits, like they appear according to situation. They can vary according to situations. They can be numerous in number and are responsible for behaviors incongruent, that is different or incompatible to individuals' usual behavior. Examples of these are political beliefs, fashion sense, hobbies, and interest. So you see that a perfectly happy, warm, and cordial person can suddenly become violent if his religion is being tarnished, or if his political leader is being I can't find that word, what it was again. It was used for Rahul Gandhi. Yeah, if his political leader is defamed. So these are the secondary traits. Now there are three types of traits that are displayed in the these are the same, of course. Now these traits in a hierarchical manner would be the first most and the most powerful are the cardinal traits, then the central traits, and finally the secondary traits. And now moving on to Okay, I've already, I've actually Alport's trade theory, central trade, secondary trades done. I've skipped Kettle's trade theory, okay? Because Kettle's trade theory is not important and you can just read it from the book if you want to. Eysenck's trade theory. Eysenck believed that our personality is largely innate and genetically based. Like, he believed that our personality is inborn, like we get everything from our genetics, and we are born with all those personality factors, all the feelings, all the kind of behavior that we are going to exhibit after we grow up. He proposed that our personality is comprised of three major personality dimensions. He's basically said that there are three dimensions to our personality, like how we can act out, like how we can develop our these personality traits into. You'll understand when we'll move on. So first is extroversion versus introversion, second is neuroticism versus stability, and third is psychoticism versus socialization. The psychoticism versus socialization was added later on. Initially there were only two: extroversion versus introversion and neuroticism versus stability. The first dimension refers to the degree to which one seeks external or internal stimulation. Okay, so whether you'll turn out to be someone who seeks external stimulation, like who likes going out, playing outdoor games, chilling with friends, partying late at nights, or whether you'll turn out to be an introvert, like staying inside, playing video games, board games, or studying books, or watching TV, movie, television, anything like that. Second was neuroticism versus stability. The second dimension describes people in the context of their emotionality and malified behavior. So neuroticism basically means that how you will turn out to be, whether you will be like emotionally attached to everything, you'll behave based on your emotions, and or whether you'll display malified behavior. Basically, individuals who are high on neuroticism tend to be emotionally unstable, moody, and maladjusted. Whereas people who are low on neuroticism, that is, those who are stable, okay, they are simply stable and calm. So basically, you can either turn out to be really, aggressive, moody, like you work based on your emotions and immediate emotions, or you can be a calm and stable person like those Buddhist monks and all those reverentials. The third dimension refers to people who are more aggressive, egocentric, anti-social, and impulsive. This basically means people who are psychoticism. This is psychoticism. So psychoticism refers to the feelings of aggression, egocentric, antisocial, and impulse, versus people who are more altruistic, empathetic, and conventional. That is, you are more egoistic or thinking about only yourself and your well-being and your goods, or versus that is socialization, means you think about other people, their good, and the good of people as a society as a whole, like the upliftment of your society or your country. Then comes McRae and Costa's Big Five Factor Theory. According to this theory, all human personality traits can be reduced to 5 factors only. So he said that all the human personality traits, all those kinds of different traits that they exhibit, they can be reduced to 5 factors. Personality traits are characteristics or qualities that describe how a person typically feels or behaves in a particular situation. Another great explanation by me, of course. First is openness to experience. They are people who love novelty and creativity. They have a curious mind and appreciation for art. They are independent thinker and love variety. So he's saying that all of your personality, all those characteristics you portray or you show, they can be reduced to 5 of these things, like these 5 factors. That you show a mix up of all these 5 factors. All of your personality is within these 5 factors. First is openness to experience. Like I've told you, there are people who love novelty and creativity and curious mind and all that. Second is conscientiousness. This is not conscience, this is conscientiousness. And if I'm not reading it wrong, conscientiousness. These people are more goal-oriented, self-disciplined, hard-working, honest and competent, and they prefer planned activity. It's not saying that there are people who are open to experience, there are people who are conscient, there are people who are extroverted or agreeable or neuroticism. Every person is a mix of all these 5 factors. Like, they have some bit of conscientiousness, they have some bit of openness to experience, they have a little bit of neuroticism, a little bit of extraversion as well. Okay, so like a mix up of all these 5 factors is what personality is. Third is extraversion. They are social, seek adventure, and tend to stay outdoor and prefer company in stress. So what you might be thinking, that why are they saying that these people are this and this and that, when everyone is just a mix up of all these factors? So they are teaching us from a point of view where a person is dominant in one particular kind of factor. Okay, when one particular kind of factor is dominant in someone's personality. Let's say agreeable, then the fourth is agreeableness. So if agreeableness is dominant in someone's personality, then they have a tendency to be cooperative and compassionate. They are generally helpful and trustworthy. And fifth is, finally, these people are worried, insecure and self-pitying people. People scoring less on this are self-satisfied and secure. So neuroticism is basically the ability to, it won't be called ability, the tendency to worry, to take everything negatively. That is what neuroticism is. Now, assessment of personality. Okay, after we're done, now comes our, I think this is the last, almost. Assessment of personality. Personality assessment refers to the administration, scoring and interpretation of empirically supported measures of personality traits and styles in order to 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is a little bit bunched up, so let me open it up for you in a really exhilarating manner. Okay, so this is saying that what is personality assessment. So personality assessment refers to the administration, that is to give or to apply, to administer, to score in a test or score in an experiment, and interpret empirically supported measures. So what are empirically supported measures? Empirically supported measures are measures which have some scientific base or which are proven. Those measures which have been scientifically proven, you can say. Empirically supported means supported with some kind of evidence or science backed. So it's saying that personality assessment is about administering, scoring and interpreting those measures of personality traits and styles which are scientifically supported, in order to so that we can, first is refine clinical diagnosis, improve clinical psychology, you can say, or clinical diagnosis of things, so that we can improve upon the clinical diagnosis. Second is so that we can form a structure and inform psychological interventions, so that we can create a kind of structure, a kind of pattern in psychological interventions, psychological phenomena. And third is to increase the accuracy of behavioral prediction in a variety of contexts and settings, so that we can increase the accuracy as to how a person will behave in a specific setting or with a specific stimuli. Okay, if you again read it slowly, if you repeat it again, then you'll be able to understand what assessment of personality is. If you go back a few seconds, just tap, double tap on it, so, and listen to it again, so you'll understand what assessment of personality is about. Still, if you don't understand what assessment of personality is, write it in the comments and I'll explain it in easier manner. Right now I'm probably just hurrying about things because it's already late at night. It's already 1 a.m. Empirically supported measures. These refer to tools, tests or instruments that have been validated of accuracy and authenticity through rigorous scientific research. Now, the techniques to assess personality can be broadly categorized into, first, self-report measures, that is where we measure our personality by ourselves, or where we report about our personality by ourselves. Second is projective techniques. Self-report measures. Okay, here starts the self-report measures. The participant is directly asked various questions about her or him, and based on the answers, an assessment of his or her personality is made. So nothing, this is basically the simplest kind of assessment. They just ask you a few questions and you have to answer them, and based on your answers they form a perception of your personality. Method. Structured questions are asked based on some theory. So obviously they have some kind of theory behind it, okay, that what will the answer of to these questions will lead to, what kind of personality does this person have if he answers these, if he gives these specific answers. Responses on each item are recorded quantitatively. So they're saying that just a second, that responses to each answer are recorded quantitatively. The total attained score is then interpreted using a norm table developed for the test. So obviously they have some kind of table developed, right? That if the person scores this much, then what his personality means. If he scores this much, then what means. If he scores this much, then what means. So this is the kind of, they have kind of a table prepared for the test, and they interpret your score according to the score reflected in the table. Examples of such self-report tests are Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory MMPI, IGNOU Personality Questionnaire EPQ. What are the limitations to these tests though? There's always some kind of limitations, right? Participants tend to choose socially desirable response. This phenomena is known as social desirability bias. So like if someone asked you that if you were if in the test they ask you that if you were allowed to kill a person, would you do it or would you not? So obviously the socially desirable answer is that no, heck no man, why would I do this? I'm not some psychopath. But there are of course people who would want to, who would like to, or deep inside they have a desire to kill someone, to hurt someone. So even those people will say no, I wouldn't want to. Though the truth, the honest answer would have been that yeah, I would. Okay. So people tend to choose those responses which are seen as socially good, socially desirable. And this is known as social desirability bias. Another limitation is acquiescence bias. Acquiescence bias refers to the responder's tendency to say yes as response to all items regardless of their content. So you see sometimes like when people ask us about do you get angry, you say yes. Do you get sad? Yeah, yes. Do you think about when you are angry, do you think about what you should do or should not do? You say yes. When you are angry, do you just start throwing things around? You can't think properly, you also say yes to that also. Like he's asked you that do you think calmly when you are, even when you're angry, and then decide what kind of routes things should take. So you say yes in it. But then when the next question asks you that do you start doing random things when you are angry, start breaking things apart, start throwing things here and there, then you say that yes to that also. Okay, so your mind becomes confused. After a few questions your brain basically gets confused and it starts saying yes to all the things. It starts believing that yeah, I do everything. So it starts saying everything regardless of what the content is. I mean, if you're given some of these personalities tests, you would easily know that feeling, what kind of feeling that is. Okay, for those who haven't given these personality tests, I pity you bro, you should have. I mean, aren't you curious to check about your personality? Yeah, 5-factor test is also a good test to check your personality. If you want to, you can just go to 5-factor test or something like that. You can just write it online. Let me just show you. Yeah, Big 5 test. Its name is Big 5 test. Here you just go to this site big5test.com, take the free test now, and then you can basically check your personality, what kind of personality you have. Next is projective techniques. This is an indirect way to measure personality. The basic assumption of this technique is that ambiguous means unclear or shady. I mean shady not in a bad sense, but just unclear or unstructured stimuli or situation may prompt an individual to project his or her true feelings, emotions and desires on them. So it's basically saying that when you encounter an like a sudden stimuli, which is something that you weren't expecting, you basically show your true feelings or true emotions to that stimuli. Okay, let's say that you are a really good and noble and calm person. You're a calm person who's always calm and who's good natured and who always speak politely. Like you're that kind of that spectacled guy in the class who's the good model child, right? But let's say that suddenly you're walking down the road and suddenly someone kicks your butt, damn, and then you start, suddenly an abuse comes out of your mind, like, you motherfucker. Okay, like suddenly you say, hey, you motherfucker, and then you're right, and then everybody's like, what did this kid just say? Did he just abuse? Isn't he that role child? I mean, I didn't think he would ever abuse. What did he just do? I mean, there would be questions everywhere, right? So he actually portrayed his real feeling, which he had been hiding from everyone else, when encountered with with a sudden stimuli, with an unexpected stimuli. So he projected his true feelings on that stimuli. Or let's say that a dog suddenly bit him, or he got hit by something, like you can say like a thorn, or he got pricked by a thorn, and suddenly he says, shh, oh my fucking god, what's this? And then people around him like, what did he just say? Did he just abuse? I thought he didn't even knew things like this. You see, so I mean, basically what I'm saying here is, did you project your hidden feelings or those desires or those feelings that you've hidden from outside world, you suddenly portray them when faced with an unexpected stimuli, faced with an unexpected situation, like a situation that suddenly bumps up. Example of these tests are draw a person test, word association test, etc. What are the limitations? They do not have any statistical validity or reliability, like they do not have any statistics, any numbers, or any like measures to compare it with. Okay, there's no measure for what this means. You can't actually measure it, or you can't give number to it. Second is, since the interpretation of the responses is highly subjective, therefore it can differ dramatically from one examiner to another. So it basically depends upon the personality of the person, the kind of environment that he had lived in. So it's all like every person will respond different to the same unexpected stimuli. So it becomes really messy to match them up or to compare them. All right, it's not like everyone will behave the same way with that same stimuli. Everyone will behave in fact differently with the same stimuli. So this is what sums up our chapter 6, theories of personality, and it is finished up. If you have any questions, any queries, just leave it down in the comments and I'll definitely reply. So see you all soon.